But here's what most men over 50 don't realize. When you wake up tired, foggy, and disconnected from your desire, it isn't just age. It's your body quietly slipping out of rhythm. I'm Barbara O'Neill, board-certified urologist, and for decades I've sat across from men who feel exactly like you do right now, wondering where their energy and confidence went. Tonight I'll show you how one simple vitamin taken at night can help reset your hormones while you sleep. Tell me where you're watching from and gently tap like and subscribe, because the answer might surprise you. But here's what most people don't realize. The strongest erections you ever have don't actually start in the bedroom. They start in your sleep. I've spent decades as a urologist listening to men quietly admit, often with their eyes down, that something just doesn't feel the same anymore. They wake up tired. Their desire feels muted. Erections don't show up the way they used to, especially in the morning. And almost every one of them assumes it's just aging. But what I've learned sitting across from thousands of men just like you is that it's not age that's stealing these things. It's sleep. Or more specifically, what's happening or not happening inside your body while you're asleep. When you're in your 20s or 30s, your body naturally produces surges of testosterone while you sleep, especially during deep REM cycles. That hormone isn't just about sex drive. It's the master signal that tells your brain, your blood vessels, and your nerves to stay young, responsive, and alive. Testosterone tells your penile tissue to stay elastic. It tells nitric oxide to flow so blood can rush in when you're aroused. It even tells your muscles and your mind to wake up feeling powerful and ready for the day. But after 50, something subtle changes. The sleep becomes lighter, REM cycles shorten, and those nighttime testosterone pulses begin to fade. I see it every day in my clinic. A man will tell me he sleeps 8 hours but still wakes up exhausted. He'll say his erections are weaker, less predictable, or gone altogether. He'll tell me he feels flat emotionally, less driven, less motivated, almost like a Barbara O'Neill on REM sleep and testosterone dimmer switch has been turned down on his life. And I'll ask him about his sleep, not just how long he sleeps, but how deeply he sleeps. Because deep sleep is when your body does its most important work. During deep sleep, your pituitary gland signals your testes to release testosterone in rhythmic pulses. This is also when your blood vessels relax, nitric oxide is produced, and the tissues inside the penis refill with oxygen-rich blood. That's why healthy men wake up with morning erections. It's not random. It's a sign that the system is working. But when sleep is shallow, fragmented, or disrupted, that entire repair and recharge cycle collapses. Testosterone drops, blood flow weakens, erections suffer, energy disappears. What breaks my heart is how many men blame themselves. They think they've lost their masculinity. They think something is wrong with them. They stop talking about it. They pull away from their partners. And quietly they carry that shame alone. I want you to hear this clearly. You are not broken. Your system is just out of sync. The biology that gave you strength and desire is still inside you, but it's not being switched on at the right time anymore. One of the most overlooked factors is REM sleep. This is the phase when your brain and body communicate most deeply. It's when memories are processed, hormones are balanced, and blood flow patterns are restored. If REM sleep is shortened, which is incredibly common after 50 due to stress, inflammation, medications, and even light exposure at night, your testosterone never gets its full signal. And without testosterone, nitric oxide doesn't get produced the way it should. Without nitric oxide, blood can't flow freely into the erectile tissue. And without that blood flow, erections weaken or vanish altogether. So men wake up tired even after a full night in bed. They wake up unmotivated. Their muscles feel weaker. Their mood feels flatter. and their confidence, especially in intimate moments, slowly erodes. It's not because they're failing, it's because their sleep hormone connection has been quietly severed. I often tell my patients that sleep is like the nightly pit stop for your body. If the crew isn't there with the right tools, the car doesn't get fixed. It just rolls back out onto the track the next day. Slower, snorts, and more worn down. That's what's happening to so many men right now. They're sleeping, but they're not repairing. And the reason this happens to men over 50 isn't just aging. It's that your body becomes more sensitive to deficiencies. Why men feel exhausted despite 8 hours of sleep could get away with when you were younger. Missing nutrients, lower sunlight, slower absorption now start to matter. One small missing piece can block the entire chain reaction that leads from deep sleep to testosterone to strong, reliable erections. The good news is that when you restore what's missing, the system often wakes back up. I've watched men in their 60s and 70s regain erections, energy, and confidence simply by correcting what their bodies were quietly lacking at night. That's why I get so passionate about this, because it's not about drugs or invasive treatments. It's about understanding your biology and giving it what it needs when it needs it most. And there's one overlooked nighttime deficiency that quietly shuts down this entire sleep hormone blood flow connection in men over 50. And once you see what it is, you'll understand why so many men never get the results they're hoping for. But here's what most people don't realize. The vitamin that quietly controls your erections, your energy, and even how deeply you sleep is not the one most men think about. In my clinic, I'll often hear men tell me they're taking heart supplements, prostate formulas, even testosterone boosters. Yet nothing seems to move the needle. And when I finally check this one vitamin, their levels are almost always low. I remember one patient in his early 60s who looked me straight in the eye and said, "Doc, I'm doing everything right. Why do I still feel so empty?" And when his labs came back, the answer was right there. Most of my patients were doing everything right except this one thing. This vitamin isn't just about immunity or bones the way it's been marketed for years. It acts more like a hormone in the male body. It binds to receptors in your brain, your blood vessels, your testes, and even inside the tissue of the penis itself. When it's present at healthy levels, it tells your body to produce testosterone. It helps nitric oxide get released so blood can flow freely. It supports deep restorative sleep, and it even calms inflammation that stiffens your arteries and restricts circulation. Without it, the entire system struggles. Think about what that means for you. Testosterone doesn't just create desire. It keeps your blood vessels soft and responsive. Nitric oxide is what allows blood to rush into the erectile tissue and stay there. And sleep is when these signals are coordinated. This vitamin is the bridge that connects all three. When it's missing, your hormones misfire, your blood flow weakens, and your sleep becomes lighter and less restorative. Brain, hormones, and blood flow connection. You can feel it as fatigue. You can see it as weaker erections. And you can hear it in that quiet frustration you carry when your body doesn't respond the way it used to. Men over 50 are especially vulnerable to this deficiency for a few reasons most people never talk about. First, your skin doesn't make it as efficiently from sunlight anymore. You can spend hours outside and still not produce enough. Second, your gut absorbs nutrients less effectively as you age, especially if you take medications for acid reflux, blood pressure, cholesterol, or diabetes. Third, chronic inflammation, which rises with age, actually uses up this vitamin faster than your body can replace it. So even men who eat well and try to stay active slowly drift into deficiency without knowing it. I've seen men who exercise, who eat clean, who avoid junk food, who even take multivitamins, and they still come up low and they're shocked. They feel betrayed by their own bodies. But the truth is this vitamin is very specific. You either have enough in the right form circulating in your blood or you don't. And when you don't, the consequences show up in the places that matter most to men: energy, sleep, and sexual performance. One of the most powerful things this vitamin does is activate nitric oxide synthesis, the enzyme that creates nitric oxide in your blood vessels. That's the same pathway that erectile medications try to enhance. But when the vitamin is low, the enzyme barely works. Blood vessels stiffen, circulation slows, erections weaken. No amount of willpower can overcome that biology. You can want intimacy deeply and still feel your body hesitate simply because the chemical signal to open those blood vessels isn't there. This vitamin also directly affects your testosterone. It stimulates the leg cells in your testes, the very cells responsible for producing male hormones. When levels are healthy, testosterone production rises naturally. When levels are low, testosterone quietly declines, even if everything else looks normal. That's why so many men have borderline testosterone that never quite rebounds. The signal is missing. And then there's sleep. This vitamin influences melatonin, the hormone that tells your brain it's time to go deep. Without it, your sleep becomes shallow. You toss, you turn. Why men blame aging incorrectly. You wake up tired. And remember, deep sleep is when testosterone and blood flow are restored. So the deficiency creates a vicious cycle. Poor sleep lowers hormones. Low hormones worsen sleep, and everything spirals down. When I explain this to my patients, I see a mix of relief and anger. Relief because there's finally a real reason for what they're feeling. Anger because no one ever told them this. They were given pills, told it's normal, or brushed off. But it isn't normal to feel empty, exhausted, and disconnected from your own body. The most hopeful part is that this deficiency is correctable. I've watched men go from flat and fatigued to waking up with energy and morning erections again simply by restoring this one missing piece. But here's where most people go wrong. They take it at the wrong time, and when that happens, it barely works at all. Because timing is what determines whether this vitamin becomes your ally or just another supplement that never delivers. But here's what most people don't realize. It's not just what you take. It's when you take it that decides whether it actually works. I've watched so many men do the right thing on paper, taking this vitamin in the morning with their coffee, swallowing it alongside breakfast, yet still seeing no real change in their energy, their sleep, or their erections. And the reason is simple. Your body doesn't repair itself in the morning. It repairs itself at night. Your hormones follow a rhythm that's been programmed into you since birth. As the sun goes down, melatonin begins to rise, telling your brain it's time to shift into recovery mode. Shortly after, growth hormone is released, repairing muscle, nerves, and blood vessels. And then during deep sleep, testosterone surges in pulses, rebuilding everything that makes you feel like a man. This is your repair window. This is when the body is supposed to heal. But most men miss it. When you take this vitamin at night, it enters your bloodstream right as those hormonal signals are turning on. It becomes part of the conversation between your brain, your testes, and your blood vessels. It helps melatonin do its job so you fall into deeper sleep. Barbara O'Neill reveals the overlooked vitamin supports growth hormone as it rebuilds damaged tissue, and it fuels testosterone production exactly when your body is ready to make it. Taken in the morning, it floats around with nowhere to go. Taken at night, it plugs directly into the system. I often explain it to my patients like this. If you show up to a construction site when no one is there, you won't get much Done. But if you arrive when the crew is working, you become part of the build. Nighttime is when your internal repair crew clocks in. That's when this vitamin matters most. One of the most profound effects is on erectile tissue. The spongy chambers inside the penis need oxygen and nutrients to stay elastic and responsive. During deep sleep, blood flow increases to these tissues, delivering what they need to stay healthy. This is why men get nighttime and morning erections. It's a form of physical therapy for the penis. But when sleep is shallow, that blood flow never fully arrives. The tissue slowly stiffens and loses its ability to trap blood. Erections become weaker. Taking this vitamin at night helps restore that blood flow by enhancing nitric oxide and relaxing the vessels exactly when they're meant to open. There's also the nervous system to consider. Stress keeps many men in a constant state of alertness. Their bodies never fully relax. This suppresses melatonin, blocks deep sleep, and keeps testosterone low. This vitamin has a calming effect on the nervous system, lowering inflammation and quieting that constant internal noise. When taken at night, it tells your body it's safe to let go, to sink into sleep, to repair. I've seen men who struggled for years with insomnia suddenly start sleeping through the night after shifting this one simple habit. They wake up clearer, calmer, more alive, and within weeks their energy and sexual response begin to change. Not because of anything dramatic, but because their bodies are finally doing what they were designed to do. This is the part most men never hear. They're told what to take but not when to take it. And timing is everything. Your hormones are not static. They rise and fall in waves. When you align this vitamin with those waves, you amplify its effect. When you ignore them, you waste it. This is when your body is supposed to heal, rebuild, and restore the strength you've been missing. But most men miss this window. Why vitamin D deficiency rises after 50 without even knowing it. And once you understand how to use this vitamin at the right time, the next step is making sure you're using the right form and the right amount, because that's what turns this from a small help into a powerful change. But here's what most people don't realize. This vitamin works when you use the right form in the right amount for your body. I've seen men come into my office frustrated because they've been taking it for months with no change at all. And when we look closer, they're either using the wrong type, a dose that's too low to matter, or so high that their body actually resists it. The truth is, this isn't about mega doses or trendy supplements. It's about precision. The form that matters for men's hormones, blood flow, and sleep is the active one your body actually recognizes. Not all versions are created equal. Some are designed for shelf life, not for absorption. The right form is the one that your liver and kidneys can easily convert into the hormone-like signal your cells respond to. When men switch to that form, I often see their lab values change within weeks. More importantly, they feel it. Their sleep deepens, their energy steadies, their morning erections start to return. Dosage is just as important. Too little and nothing happens. Too much and the body shuts down. Absorption as a protective mechanism. For most men over 50, there is a sweet spot that restores levels into a healthy functional range without overwhelming the system. That range depends on your size, your sun exposure, and your overall health. But it's far more achievable than most people think. This isn't about guessing. It's about giving your body exactly what it needs to turn the lights back on. There are also a few men who need to be careful. If you have certain kidney conditions, high calcium levels, or are on specific medications, this vitamin should be monitored by a physician. That's why I always tell my patients to treat this with the same respect they would any therapy. It's powerful because it works, and anything that works deserves to be used wisely. What I love about this approach is how quickly men begin to notice subtle but meaningful changes. First, sleep starts to feel deeper. You wake up less during the night. You feel more rested in the morning. Then energy returns. That heavy, drained feeling begins to lift, and soon after something deeply personal happens. Morning erections come back. Desire feels more natural. Your why. Barbara O'Neill recommends nighttime use. Body responds again without force or anxiety. It's not dramatic or artificial. It's simply your system remembering how to function. I've had men tell me it feels like they've been given back a piece of themselves they thought was gone forever. Not just sexually, but emotionally. They feel more confident, more engaged with life, more like the man they remember being. And the most powerful part is that this puts control back in your hands. You're not waiting for a prescription. You're not resigning yourself to decline. You're supporting the natural rhythm of your body and letting it do what it was designed to do. This doesn't happen overnight, but it doesn't take years either. Within a few weeks, most men start to feel a shift. Within a few months, the difference can be profound. And when you combine the right form, the right dose, and the right timing, you're no longer just treating symptoms. You're restoring the foundation. That's when something deeper happens. Hope returns, confidence grows, and you realize that it's not too late to feel strong, energized, and connected to your body again. And that's exactly where we're headed next. But here's what most people don't realize. The moment a man starts to believe he's too old to feel strong again, that's when the real damage begins. I see it all the time. Men walk into my office carrying more than just fatigue or weak erections. They carry a quiet grief, a sense that the best part of life is behind them, that somehow their body has betrayed them and there's nothing they can do about it. And I want you to know from the bottom of my heart and from decades of medical experience that simply isn't true. Aging does not mean decline. What most men are experiencing is a biological misalignment. Their bodies are still capable of producing energy, desire, and deep restorative sleep, but the signals are out of sync. The hormones aren't firing at the right time. The nutrients aren't getting where they need to go. The sleep isn't deep enough to allow repair. That's not failure. That's fixable. I've watched men in their late 60s sit across from me with slumped shoulders and tired eyes, convinced their vitality was gone forever. And months later, I've seen those same men walk back in with a different posture, a different presence. They sleep through the night. They wake up with energy, erectile tissue repair during deep sleep. They feel desire again, not just in the bedroom, but for life, for their partners, for their families, for the simple joy of waking up and feeling good in their own skin. There is something deeply masculine about taking care of your health. It's not weakness, it's responsibility. It's saying, I want to be here, I want to be present, I want to feel strong enough to show up for the people I love. And when your body starts working with you again, instead of against you, that pride returns naturally. You don't have to accept feeling broken. You don't have to quietly give up the parts of yourself that matter most. The body you have now is not a lost cause. It's simply been running without the right instructions for a long time. And when you begin to correct that, even small changes can create powerful momentum. I've seen it too many times to doubt it. Men who thought they were past their prime, rediscovering their energy. Men who believed intimacy was over, finding connection again. Men who felt invisible, reclaiming their presence in the world. That's what happens when biology is brought back into balance. And if you're listening to this right now, feeling that quiet hope starting to stir, that's not an accident. That's your body recognizing a path forward. But here's what most people don't realize. The simple vitamin we've been talking about this whole time is vitamin D3. And when it's taken at night in the right way, it becomes one of the most powerful allies a man over 50 can have for erections, energy, sleep, and healthy testosterone. It supports nitric oxide, so blood can flow where it needs to go. It signals your testes to produce more of the hormones that make you feel alive, and it helps your brain sink into the deep restorative sleep where your body actually repairs itself. If this helped you understand your body in a new way, I'm truly glad you're here. This channel exists for men who don't want to quietly fade, but who want to stay strong, present, and connected to their lives. So join our community and subscribe so you never miss guidance. Restoring rhythm, not chasing youth, designed for men just like you. Navigating these changes with dignity and clarity. This isn't about chasing youth. It's about honoring the body you have and giving it what it needs to function at its best. You deserve confidence. You deserve energy. You deserve deep restorative sleep that lets you wake up feeling like yourself again. Remember that tired man we talked about at the beginning, the one who wakes up feeling drained and disconnected. He doesn't have to stay that way. Sometimes the smallest shift, like taking vitamin D3 at the right time, can open the door to something much bigger.